This is a clip from the Red Cow Arcade podcast.
I have water and ice in my fridge now.
Oh, yeah. I heard.
It's an exciting thing. It's the kid really loves. I think it's a huge novelty for a child to be like, ooh, ah.
Yeah, I remember my aunt and uncle had a fridge with a ice maker, and I remember as a kid being enthralled by it because we had ice cube trays like peons and all that stuff forever. They probably still do. I think they still have ice cube trays.
Tell you what, I did not. I don't think the cost between the expense of the fridge, the expense of the plumbing, it's that water is never going to pay for itself.
No,
it's just the convenience and the it's a status marker, I suppose.
Yeah, but you do have the wonder, glorious wonder.
Yeah,
and appreciation for at least like a week.
Do you have? Is your freezer on the bottom, the top, or on the side?
Mine's on the bottom, so it's a bottom one. It's the bottom top situation. We have an ice maker, but no water.
Yeah, when I lived at Nina's dad's house when we were younger, he had an ice maker that would dump into like a big tub, and then you could like scoop a plastic cup through it, and that was. But he had kind of shitty water because everywhere around here is like well water, and if you don't treat your water, it can be kind of mostly around here it will taste like iron if it's like an old well.
No, ours has a lot of calcium in it. It's not well water. It's treated somewhere.
Yeah,
and it's very chlorinated. So we filter all our water. We have a huge it's like a Berkey filter. You put it on your counter. And so we filter it, and drink nice, fresh, filtered water.
It does. It's kind of like it encourages water consumption, which is as opposed to yeah.
Because if you don't filter it, it's like you're drinking pool water, water from a swimming pool.
I often shock people because most people have street water, street gas, or city water, I should say. And we have like a water closet that goes to the well, and we have a softener, and we have a filter. And with the softener, we buy 2 giant heavy bags of salt every month, and we dump salt into this thing. It is kind of prepper out here, EJ, like with the garden and the private well, and now there's the gas. So we don't have the oil burner anymore. So that's all done. Last time I spoke on the podcast, it was gonna get done. Now it is done, and so it's propane deliveries, as I mentioned last time, and I'm really impressed by how it all went down, because you would think like changing out heating systems in your home would be this very disruptive thing, and it really only was for like 2 days. And working from home is genius, because it means you can just let people in, they can just do their shit, and you can you don't have to take a day off from work or anything like that. But
oh yeah,
it did mean that that there were 2 days of cold showers, or of no hot water, because the mini splits can heat the house if you want them to. And there's only like one chilly day where that was even necessary. But I had it in my head. Call me naive. I am kind of, for a smart person, I'm kind of stupid. It's something I've noticed over time.
I feel that too. There's that, because I was just doing my taxes, and that scene in Breaking Bad where Skylar pretends to be a bimbo, and she's like, well, I filled in the Quicken and I just kept like clicking until it didn't flash red and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's me with my taxes every year. It's not even a persona. I'm just the bimbo who's just filling in like all the things, and nothing flashes red, and I just hope the government doesn't arrest me.
I had it in my head of like, oh, no hot water. But everything else is intact, It's like you can't really live without electricity. I mean, you can, but you really, really don't want to. If the water was turned off, that would be kind of disastrous. But in my head, I'm going like, oh, just the heat part of the water is the problem. Like, I probably won't linger in the shower, but I can. I'm a man. I can take a cold shower. I don't know what temperature that shower water was. If it was 35, I wouldn't be shocked at all. Because it comes out of the ground. It's much colder than you think it is.
Yeah.
And have you ever been in cold water that panicked you?
Oh yeah, I was a swimmer, so yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in lots of cold water situations, but yeah, or like there was like we would swim in the winter, so you'd swim, you'd be going from like the 0 degree weather to into
man.
a swimming pool, and then you'd go outside and you'd still be dripping wet, so your hair would freeze like icicles on top of your head.
Yeah, I mean, 'cause you step in, you're like, ooh, I'm cold, but I'll warm up. Because, like, I've been, like, at the ocean and, it's, like, really cold and you get it. It's, like, maybe, like, 55 degree water. It's real cold, but, like, you kind of just do it. And it's not like the 35 degree water is not like that. This is, like, if you stick your head in it, you'll get a headache. Like, the moment you stick your head in it.
I would, and I also, because we would just go swimming at the Cape at the beginning of the season, which is like the water is so cold. It's like, basically it's still like thawing out from the winter. And yeah, it is. It's like, it is shot. Like the breath, like the breath comes out of you. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. And so then I'm like faced with this decision of like, well, I can't use soap and wet my entire body. So I've just got to focus on what's important here, which is the hair. I can't like for 2 days go with like unwashed hair. I just refuse. And so I stick my head in the freezing cold shower and like, you got to wait until the hair is actually wet, And you're just like, oh God, it's terrible. And then you put in the shampoo and then you got to do it again. And it's like, you can get through the first one, getting through like the second one was so miserable. And I actually did have like a panic moment the second time, not a serious panic moment, but a moment where I was like, oh, imagine dying in cold water. Imagine, there's one like drowning is one of those really scary thoughts, drowning for fuck's sake, where you just can't get out. You just can't get that that gasp of air that you need, and you just sit there and die.
It's like the Sonic music plays. Dun, 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 dun.
But I was like, but imagine like, there. Obviously, the Titanic comes to mind. People in horrible situations in war comes to mind. Impoverished people or countries that that don't have hot water. It's just like all of a sudden, EJ, I had all this perspective where I was like, "Holy shit, hot water matters." It's so important,
Man.
and
It's a luxury.
I mean, yeah, and it's a miracle too. I mean, it's not as though the hot water comes easy. They had to come in here and install a very expensive, very fancy machine to make it happen, and you have to fuel that thing on some cadence. And so it's like, we all whine and complain about an awful lot of things, but I just think every morning you should wake up and thank the sky or something for your hot water. And I actually I Googled it. I said, how long would it take me to die in this water? And it's like a half hour. Like if you were in there for a half hour, you'd die.
Yeah. Well, I mean, your body temperature is like 98.6 or something, and your body's trying to keep that warmth up.
Yeah.
You must burn more calories if you're in cold water.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. There's a whole thing about this. There's is it Ray Cronice or so? There's a dietitian wacko. I think he helped Penn Jillette with his big diet thing, but it was like, do these like ice baths ice bath. Fuck you. I'm never going in an ice bath ever. I lost a lot of weight and there was no ice bath involved.
No, it's all these temperature gimmicks like hot yoga and like this stuff. I'm like, no, it's hard enough for me to do this at like a normal temperature.
Just do it at the normal temperature. My God. But it's good. It's great. I mean, it's awesome because all of that shit in the hallway is all cleaned up. The oil tank, there's a gigantic oil tank in my basement, gone. We had a chimney. We don't need a chimney anymore. It vents through the, this new vent pipe outside. And it's, it was really cool.
Yeah, I'm glad everything's working out for you in that realm. I was having such a terrible time with my microwave.
Oh, no.
Like, it's a simple thing. Like, it's an over-the-range microwave. It stopped. My old one stopped working. It came with the house, and It was kind of ratty. Like the lights underneath were broken. But it eventually just stopped cooking food. Like you just put stuff in, it would make all the noises a normal microwave makes, and then you just open up, it would just be ice cold in there.
Oh shit.
So it was just and you know, and then I looked it up on like how to fix a microwave, and there was like way too much like I don't know, like electrical work and
I don't think I've ever spent more than $80 on a microwave before.
yeah. Well, yeah. This is like an over the range, so they're like 300, 400.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So anyway, and mine's huge, so it's like I just went to Home Depot. I just looked up like the exact kind of microwave I had because I was like, I didn't want to like get new, like I wanted it to fit on the same like mount that this one was on. So I was like, oh, maybe the same brand, the same like size, everything. Maybe that'll be good. So I just order it from Home Depot, and then they have the things where it's like, oh, do you want us to like take away your old one? I'm like, yes, and you pay a little bit more for that. It's like, do you want us to just like unpack it and install it? And I was like, I got kids, I don't have time. Yes, so I just click all that shit.
Yeah, absolutely.
So then they call you and they're like, hey, when do you want this delivered? I was like, okay, we can deliver it this day. And like you said, working from home is great because
so nice.
you know you can take all of these things.
So do you get a bunch of work from home time now?
It's pretty hybridized, and I can do basically whatever I want.
That's great.
But I do come in because I actually have to film stuff now at work.
Yeah,
and it's been great. I love filming, and it was great to film BoxMac recently, and because like you know, since the pandemic, it was like only editing like Zoom calls basically, or glorified Zoom calls.
you can't do anything with it.
Yeah, it's like for 2 years, so you just like want to kill yourself.
You can't even do comical digital Zoom punch-ins on people because it's not YouTube.
Well, I mean, I do use Riverside. I do use Riverside in my old job, and I use something called OpenReel, which kind of sucks, but it's similar. A similar concept.
Yep.
No offense to my employers who bought it, but and then so anyway, it's great working from home. You just get these things done. The guys deliver the microwave. They start unpacking it, and they notice a huge like gash in the side of the microwave, and they're like, we should just like take this back because if you install it and it doesn't work, that would suck. I'm like, that makes sense. I don't want a huge gash in my new microwave. So it's like, okay. And that's like, okay, we're going to put it like a call into our people. You call Home Depot and we can get a redelivery. I'm like, okay, sure. Makes sense. So I call Home Depot and I tell them the situation. They're like, oh yeah, I see that the people put in that, it was a failed delivery or whatever. And so they, scheduled a new delivery date for the microwave. The day comes and I have to go to work that day. So I was just like, Anna, just take care of it. They're just going to come in. They're going to do the same thing they did last time. Anyway, they come, they just drop off the microwave and they leave.
Oh, man.
And Anna's like, oh, I thought you were going to install it. And they're like, it's not in our manifest. So like somehow that the install and take away microwave got deleted. So I was like, oh, fuck. So I had to call Home Depot and they're like, oh, that must have been like an error on our part because it got deleted in the manifest. So we'll set up a new delivery date for you or because the microwave was already here. And I was like, oh, well, and I wanted the other one to be taken away, the old one. And so, because it's so big and you have to like find like a place to recycle these things. I just don't want to deal with it.
Totally.
It's another errand on a weekend or something.
Yeah, I'm so with you.
And so I call them, I reschedule again to somebody to actually install this thing. The day comes, nobody shows up. And so I'm like, what's going on? So I call them and they were like, oh, the company that was originally going to do it, we actually because they contracted local people to actually do the work for them. And it's like, oh, we're actually changing companies. And I was like, but you scheduled something for today. What did you schedule? You told me a date to set aside. Luckily, like I said, we're working from home, so I didn't have to take special time for this. It's like, what would you schedule? You didn't schedule anything.
It means that at some point somebody was on the phone with you and was like, oh yeah, we're totally scheduling it. And they weren't scheduling a goddamn thing.
Yeah, they just said it for me to hang up. And and basically they're like, cause I think what happened was they had one person who is their distributor or the people who like will install it. They contracted them, and they were switching the contract. So apparently they could not go back to the old contractor people, but they couldn't go to the new one for some reason. For some reason, there was no way for this communication to happen.
Nope.
And they gave up. And Home Depot was like, we're just going to give you $100.
Yeah.
Like, not only are you won't have to pay for all the stuff we didn't give you, we'll give you an extra $100 toward the microwave. I'm like,
Fucking microwave.
Okay. So I had to call my father-in-law and like, because the thing is pretty heavy and unwieldy. And I had a back spasm, so I'm like, I can't.
Oh, yeah,
just
you were
do
saying that. Yeah, that sucks.
that's another story, I guess.
Yeah.
So I had to get him over to help. It took a few hours too, because it's like you had to like get the bracket, like make sure the bracket fits. You had to do measurements. Yeah, because there was drilling you have to do on the top because the screw holes aren't quite the same. So it's a weekend. It's a weekend project, and it's one I wanted to use money to not do, and I couldn't. I couldn't use the money to not do it.
That's the age of post-COVID. Is that the services themselves are becoming less and less available. Yeah, I actually, despite things going relatively well, there was this one moment when they were supposed to come and finalize the install. I still didn't have hot water, and I worked out that morning, so I'm like cold in my sweat, And I did end up just saying fuck it, and I took another cold shower. And I was gifted a few Christmases ago these like rice bags that you can put in the microwave and heat them up, and you can put them on your shoulders and stuff. And so I have two of them, so I heated up both of them, and I was like came out of the shower just like hugging microwavables. And but I had like they were supposed to come and finish by the morning by like 12. I had a whole afternoon of like interactions with my boss and stuff, the sorts of things, like 2 presentations too. The kind of thing I couldn't be like, would everybody please hold on? I need to go like take care of a personal matter that's going on in my house that I scheduled during our time,
Yeah.
So I was like, fuck, like they're still not here. And they were supposed to be here like at 9 and it was like 12. And so I started calling and they were like, all right, Mr. Frame, what's your, and every time you call back, they authenticate you differently. Like sometimes they don't give a shit. Sometimes it's, tell me every phone number that's on this account. So whatever, I'll jump your hoops. And then they finally, like when the first 10 minutes of it is just like getting to it. And then they're like, and what time did they say that they were going to arrive? I'm like, I don't know. You fucking tell me that. Is that really not in this service order? Like what time they're supposed to come or anything? So the first guy is like, actually, Mr. Frayne, very funny. It just, as we were speaking, it said dispatched. So they should be calling you any minute and they'll tell you when they're there. 2 hours goes by. And I get no phone call. I call back and she's like, it did say dispatched 2 hours ago. That's true. And I'm like, so that they've been dispatched. You know that they have a phone number that they can call me at to let me know what the status is, but you have no way of contacting them to ask how things are going. And they're like, correct. I'm like, you have no communication whatsoever with your service people. Like, what is this phone number I called? What do you do?
There is some, when you're talking to Home Depot and it's like, there is like weird disconnects everywhere.
Yeah. Operational weakness. It's kind of like it's sort of like everybody decided like, because the truth is like, if you run a service department, like service is important, right? And if you have zero service or service is breaking down just constantly, every single interaction goes badly for every single person. Yeah. Then at some point you stop having, like you shy away customers and stuff. But I think that like bad service is this thing that everybody will tolerate to kind of a large extent because they just want to get through their thing. And so, if you just kind of think about it in terms of cost, I think every company, there's like a question of like, how bad is too bad? And can I be like just above too bad? Like you get a fit, the truth is like those guys came many, many hours late and there's really no consequences for the company that happened, There's it's like there was a service agreement that day that they'd come on time and they didn't. Fuck it. And like, I think that kind of thing happens all the time.
Yeah, and it started off so like promising because I think the first group of guys came on time, and the microwave was broken. It had a gash in it. No, okay, so now I have a nice microwave, but I still have the old one in my garage, and it's taking up space, and I have to like go to a Best Buy or whatever and recycle it or whatever, just throw it into the river, whatever I end up doing.
Convert it into a camera.
Yeah.
I was talking to somebody recently we were talking about IT support and, how it's always outsourced and, it's like just like everybody knows how comically bad IT support can be and how comically bad the interactions can be because often the client is equally clueless and stuff. It's like the blind leading the blind. But he was saying, he was like, he's like, I got a theory that like, what if you were to over-engineer your IT support? So if instead of hiring 1,000 people to have like multi-hour sessions with everyone where they never solve the problem anyway, what if you hired like half as many or a quarter as many like engineers, like tier 3 engineers, and had them just like blow through interactions and, they're overqualified for the job, but everybody will be turned away happy. You'll resolve things very quickly. They have like a lot of knowledge of the back end, like could that work? And I don't know. It's a good question.
Subscribe to Red Cow Entertainment on Patreon for full episodes every other week.